Hi, my name is Bailey Wright, District 1 4-H Specialist, and this is going to be a quick overview of the Duds to Dazzle that can serve as a coach's training. This will be the first part of a two-part video. In this first part, we'll go over what the concepts look like, some basic rules, and how to meet the educational objectives through some fun and creative activities. In the second part, we'll go over actual contest strategies as far as preparation, construction, and the presentation. So let's get started. Okay, so this is a team contest. There will be a minimal of 3 people on the team and a maximum of 5. New this year from each county, 3 teams in the junior and intermediate divisions will be allowed to compete at district, and same as in the past, an unlimited amount of senior teams will be able to compete at district. So if you've had any experience with the food challenge contest, the basic concept is the same. This is just on the fashion and interior design side of things. So the team will bring a box of tools and items to help them prepare and construct their product, which we'll talk more about the box later. So when they get there, they're going to turn around and there's going to be one textile startup item given to them in a bag, and it could be broad things. A sheet, 2 yards of fabric, a towel, a t-shirt, a shower curtain, pillowcase, a couple bandanas, 5 silk scarves, that sort of thing. And then there's 3 different categories that they will be competing in: accessory, wearable, or non-wearable. So when you open up your bag and figure out what your startup item is, you'll also be able to identify what category you're in. So you'll know you need to make a product that fits that category. That's an important rule I want to touch on. Make sure you're practicing with your team that they can identify certain items to make for each category, because let's say they get wearable and they make an apron, it's automatically going to be disqualified and they're going to get last place because that apron falls into the accessory category. I'm not going to go over these different examples of the categories too much in depth, because I'll show y'all where you can go to Texas 4-H and get more ideas of what fits in each category. Oops. Okay, so you'll get 3 to 4 tickets for the closet, and what you can do with those tickets is there's going to be what we call the closet. It'll have extra fabric, other textile items, ribbon, buttons, lace, rhinestones, all sorts of fun things for embellishments and to help you create your product. In total, you're going to have 60 minutes prep time. So that means from the moment you turn around and figure out what textile item you've been given and what category you've been assigned, you have 60 minutes to go to the closet, get some other items, and prepare your product, as well as get your presentation put together. All age groups, after the 60-minute preparation time is called, will be judged on a 5-minute presentation. Again, we'll go more in depth on an outline for that presentation in the second video. New this year, seniors are the only age group that are going to be asked or answer questions, and they will have 3 minutes for those questions. So let me make that clear. Juniors and intermediates will no longer be asked questions. So we'll just get that out there. Here's exactly what the scorecard will look like. You can see this top section is when they're going to be judged off during those 60 minutes of preparation. This bottom section will be what they're going to be judged off of in their presentation. So let's just look at this really quick. For seniors, it's going to be, of course, your presentation, those skills they mentioned there, communication, voice, poise, articulation, number of members presenting, etc. You'll be judged off that for seniors, as well as your questions will affect the points you're given here. For juniors and intermediates, it's only your presentation you're going to get judged off of here. If there's any questions on that, make sure you ask your county extension agent. Okay, the sewing kit. So, like I mentioned, everyone will bring a box that has some tools and items that's going to help them construct their item. So, here's a list of everything you can have in your box. You don't necessarily have to have all of this in your box, but nothing extra. If it's not on this list, you cannot put it in your box. And you also need to be aware of these quantities. You can't go over the amount of quantity if it's specified there, or just like calculator. That's obviously singular. One calculator. So just make sure you're really teams that make it on the state. There will be box checks at state, most definitely. Which let me backtrack for just a minute. I should have talked about this. Um, in each of those three categories, accessory, wearable, and non-wearable, we will send the first place senior team. So ultimately, three senior teams will represent D1 at Texas 4-H Roundup in College Station in June. I also wanted to point out, um, just from personal experience, and other agents might have better different ideas, but there were a few things that I didn't think were necessary for junior and intermediate teams when I was coaching teams, so I didn't put them in there, such as a rotary cutter. I just didn't think that was a necessity, and it was kind of a safety call on my part, so I didn't give junior and intermediate teams a rotary cutter, so I also didn't get them rotary gloves or a self-healing cutting mat. So just know there's a few things that you can um, adjust for your teams. I also had one team that would have gone Mod Podge crazy, so they didn't get Mod Podge. But just know you can make minor adjustments to help your team compete to their best. Okay, educational objectives. And there's many more educational objectives to the fashion interior design project, as well as the to Dazzle contest, but I narrowed it down to the top 5 educational objectives that I are important, A, for their project experience, but B, that are also going to be important that we teach on and educate them on in order for them to be successful on a competitive level. So, first and foremost, understanding how to use a sewing machine, especially the younger teams. Especially, we're going to have newbie seamstress who have no prior knowledge. So, I think just getting them hands on with a sewing machine, that they understand how to thread it, what to touch, what not to touch, how to put their bobbin in. It's going to be overwhelming in contests. Number 2, I think it's important that they understand how to demonstrate multiple construction techniques in order to make a product that's really going to showcase all of their skills. So, for example, for younger teams, I might tell them, you don't get to hot glue everything. You can hot glue some, but you also need to use your sewing machine some. You also need to do some hand stitching. Show them that you know how to put a button on. Anything like that that's going to show a multitude of skills. When it comes to senior or more advanced teams, I might tell them you can't just use your sewing machine the whole time through. Make sure we throw some hand stitches in. Throw some things like a zipper in there. Show them you know how to do that. Show them that you can do some different kinds of films, that you can do some unique embellishments, that sort of thing. I think it's just really important that they can demonstrate multiple construction techniques. Understanding basic marketing of an item, which there's some fun activities I'm going to show y'all on that. Knowledge of textiles, I'll show y'all some activities on that. And the big one is safety. Y'all saw on the scorecard that safety does go into their overall judging criteria and scoring. So in practice, I think it's very important that from the get-go, you set the safety rules and make sure they're practicing those rules at every practice and adhering to those in terms of using the sewing machine, scissors, hot glue gun, iron, needles, all sorts of things. So just make sure you teach them how to safely use those and that they're going to show those skills. So let's go ahead and look at some really neat resources that I think will help you as a coach hit these educational objectives and still be preparing them for a contest setting. Bear with me. We're switching screens. Okay, I think y'all can see it. So if you go to the Texas 4-H website, you'll go to youth projects and then find fashion and interior design. There's some really good resources that I want to highlight. The first one I'm going to highlight is the Sewing Basics Explore Guide. Let's take a look at it. This is a great one to hit that first educational objective of getting to know your sewing machine and making sure they understand the basics of using a sewing machine, and they can. So I think there's some really great lessons here, some also basic lessons for ironing and pressing and hand sewing. So I really utilize this book if I were you. A lot of that sewing machine, it's just going to be hands-on, getting hands-on with them, letting them try it out. The next one is the Dazzle Explore Guide. To me, it's kind of the next step after Sewing Basics, but there's a lot of lessons in here I like. Let's just start at the beginning. Scroll. Okay, here we go. Okay, this idea generation and skill development is one that I really like. This first activity, and I'll hit on this a little more in the second video, but I think it's so important to give your teams a game plan going into it. So you brainstorm a list of possible startup items, and then you brainstorm with them, what could you make from all of these? What could you make from old jeans that would be accessory? What could you make from old jeans that would be wearable? What could you make from old jeans that would be non-wearable? Do the same with curtains, and just get some ideas rolling for them so that when they go to contests and they get curtains, they're not clueless. They don't freak out and panic and not know what they can make. So I think this is a great activity. I've done the jean basket and the double-sided headband. Those are great just to get them going, get some ideas generated, teach some basic skills. Lots more ideas. Public speaking. Help them with their presentation. Okay, to me, this is really important one. And I would do this every first practice every year, no matter if it was a newbie beginner team or my senior girls who had done it with me for 5 years. We did this the first practice. We go through the box, our sewing kit, we pull out every item, mark it off the list, number one, to make sure we know we have it in there. But I would make them tell me what the item was and what it was used for. Every single item, just because I think it's so important that they know what's in their box, where it's at, and how to use it. So that's a great activity as well. Scrolling. Okay, this is another one of we talked about one of the educational objectives is knowing some basic textile knowledge. By that, I mean fabric care and fiber characteristics. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but I'll show y'all my favorite way. These little cards that end up making a flip book, you put them on like a ring, a silver ring, are great. So you print these cards off. Cardstock works best. And so natural is kind of going to be a cover, and you'll do your natural fiber behind it, and then manufactured is going to be a cover, and you'll do your manufactured covers, manufactured cards, textiles, fibers behind that. Some of the main more common fibers and textile types, there's this card, and they have advantages, disadvantages, ways to use them. So you have the kids either glue or double-sided tape a swatch of fabric there, so then they can feel the fabric, see the fabric, be able to identify it, and start memorizing some advantages and disadvantages for that. That way, when they get into contests, they'll easily be able to identify what kind of fiber they've been given, and some advantages and disadvantages of it. I think you can do this and have the whole make their own little flip book, or let them work together as a team to make one flip book for a team. But it's really going to be beneficial for that fiber person, and I'll talk more about what who the fiber person is and what the job of that person is in the next video. But this is another one of my favorite activities, and it's pretty easy to do, and I think it makes a difference. Okay, there was one more that I really like that I wanted to show you. Also, here's some really cool community service ideas. And here you'll be able to see the scorecard that I showed you, the supply kit, some interview questions to practice with your senior teams to get them ready. But this is the 2020 Duds to Dazzle guide. And that I really suggest any coaches, agents, project leaders, parents read through this, learn the basic rules of the contest, and there's a better explanation of the categories, accessory, wearable, non-wearable, in that guide. And then compare that back to our D1 Duds to Dazzle letter, and then let your agent know what questions you have. Okay, but another fun activity, it's this Burn Baby Burn. I won't click on it, but it's a YouTube video, and it shows you how you can do it. You can either show the video or do it yourself, basically to teach the difference between natural fibers and manufactured fibers. So, for example, if you take a cotton t-shirt and light it on fire, it's going to just burn and disintegrate, versus if you take some spandex and burn it, it's going to melt together because it is manufactured. So, just a fun experiment to do with them. The kids really like to see that and to play with fire. So that's just a basic overview of the Duds to Dazzle contest, some of the rules, expectations, how it works, where you can find resources, and the 5 main educational objectives that I think need to be addressed to enhance their project experience, but also to make them competitive when it comes time for contests. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you watch the next video to learn some preparation and construction strategies, as well as some presentation strategies.